Welcome to my channel and welcome to The Pit. The Pit is a game for 2 players. It's a dungeon crawling game, but with a twist. You can either play it as a co-op or you can play it as a competitive game. In The Pit, we have 2 phases. Phase number 1 is 4 rounds when you'll be powering up your character and getting more and more items to help you out. And the phase 2 is 4 rounds when you're going to be trying to kill the boss. In The Pit, each player takes the role of one of the heroes with the unique deck of cards and abilities, as well as the unique powers that they'll be unlocking during the game. In The Pit, you'll be walking around the dungeon, killing minions, killing mini bosses, opening treasures, getting absolutely smacked in the face all the time, just to get more power to then be able to kill the boss. The boss appears after the 4 rounds, and then the pit that's right in the middle becomes the boss himself. Walking around the dungeon, you can encounter different things. You can encounter traps, you can encounter minions, and you can encounter your opponents. Whether you play the cooperative or competitive version of the game, you can either then leave the opponent alone to their own, or you can try to mess them up a little bit. But you've got your own things to worry about as well. You need to make sure that you've got enough power and good items to then help you out at the very end to kill the boss or to just get the most points, because points is how you win the game. When you play in the cooperative version, obviously it's if the boss kills you or if you kill the boss by the end of round 4. Whilst when you play in the competitive version, is depending on who's got the most points at the end of the game, and we get the points by killing monsters, killing the minions, and getting more and more points that way. Each round you'll be spawning new treasures and new events, and the events come from this deck. We'll be building more walls, we'll be getting more traps on the board, there'll be mini bosses spawning all around, and everything is based on a 2d10 system, as well as the setup of the game. Everything will be placed on the board depending on how we roll the dice, and there is a grid on the board that helps us out to figure out where everything goes. Every board has the same layout, but there is a different design because every board belongs to different characters. So Erizal here's got his board, and Ridex here's got his board, so everyone's going to have their own one. So that's the uniqueness that comes with this game, that every character's got their own set of skills and cards and board. So the more characters that the game will have, the more replayability will have, and the same comes to the boss. But before the boss comes in, we've got this amazing looking pit right in the middle of the board. Yes, it doesn't serve any purpose. It's just there to block the middle of the board and to show us where the boss will spawn. So at the end of turn 4 in the first phase, the boss comes into play. This boss looks absolutely amazing. He goes on the board, and then we are trying to kill him, and he is also trying to kill us. The boss's board looks something like this, and this is something that I personally struggled with in this game. Is the amount of information that is on this board is absolutely insane, and to read everything I've struggled a little bit. Whilst when it comes to the player boards, I would like to have a little bit more information on them. So for example, I would like to know what each of these things are if they were written on the board, as opposed to where they are written, which is like a player aid thing. So yes, I know it's a lot of information, but at least some sort of iconography would be very helpful. Whilst the boss has so many things written on it, I'm absolutely lost when I'm looking at it. So as I said, it's a good thing that there's a lot of replayability coming with different characters, and each character is different and the boards are different. Replayability is good because there is lots of characters, and each character is obviously different, and they're different boards, and everything is, evolves a little bit differently. So yeah, if the more characters, the better in this case. The same with bosses. The different bosses we're going to encounter in each game are different, and the combat against them will be different. So replayability here is really, really good. When it comes to like the idea of the game, the whole thing is really simple on one hand, because obviously you move around the dungeon, you power up, you gather things to then have the final boss fight, which is really simple. However, there's lots of like little rules and things you need to memorize. For example, all these tokens, like I understand that they have different use and different, they represent different things, but you will probably will never memorize all of those things. Well, we'll try, but obviously you have to play the game a lot to be able to do that. The other thing I really don't understand is why that bit over there is upside down. So we sitting on each side of the board looking at the board, and then that one, the minion board, is the other way around, and I think it should be facing the middle of the board. It's a minor thing. It's really just like a complaint that I personally have towards the design of the board, but it's nothing major. The Pit is a game that brings to the table so many different things that I have never seen in gaming. It will definitely appeal to people who like dungeon crawlers and maybe not necessarily games that are very streamlined, because in this case, this game is not super simple. It's a game that definitely requires you to be 100% in it and to understand all your cards. For example, Arizel's cards, in my opinion, are much easier to understand and to play than the Red X card. So having a look at the deck, you've got like +2 attack, 1 defense, attack, defense, attack, defense, attack, defense, and I think it's a little bit simpler than his cards. I've got like teleport and things that are a little bit more complicated. I really like the dice in this case. They're all like engraved and really, really cool, and they're very simple to understand as well. The rolls, there are hits and there are misses, and there's not much more to it. We roll the dice during combat just to compare the power and the defense, and obviously whoever's got more power wins the combat. To sum up, the Pit is not for everybody. Like every single board game out there, this isn't a game for everyone. This is a game for those who like dungeon crawlers, who play 2-player only games, who want a game that definitely will keep you at the table for a little bit longer, because it's not a short game. Yes, it does have 8 rounds every time, but each time we play will be different. We're going to have to learn new characters, learn new cards, and only if we've played with every single character against every single boss, then we'll understand the game 100%, and we will definitely be a little bit quicker at it. But do you know what? Do you have to be quick at board games? I'm not actually sure, because obviously you want to enjoy them. Having a 2-hour session with the Pit is definitely something that I can find enjoyable, and I can find the right audience for this game. So I think people who like dungeon crawlers, 2-player games that are quite unique, games with minis, this is a game for them. The Pit will be hitting Kickstarter very, very soon. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something about this game. See you in the Pit.